The RX 5700 XT was a game changer back in 2019, known as one of the best budget GPUs for 1440p gaming. Fast forward to 2024 and we know that games have become way more demanding. When my trusty GTX 1660 finally gave out, I had to find a replacement that fit my tight $200 budget, so I landed on this 5-year-old powerhouse, the RX 5700 XT. But now comes the real test. Can it still live up to the hype it built back then? How well does it handle today's graphically intense games at 1440p, and most importantly, does it remain one of the top budget options for gamers on a budget in 2024? Stick around as we put this card through the ringer with modern benchmarks, breaking down every FPS detail, and I think you'll be as surprised by the results as I was. Welcome back to LA Electronics, your ultimate destination for the latest and greatest in PC tech news and leaks, especially when it comes to GPUs and CPUs. If you're serious about staying ahead of the curve, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications so you're always in the loop. Also, be sure to follow me on X, where I post everything first before going in depth in the videos. Back in 2019, the RX 5700 XT stood out as one of the best budget GPUs for 1440p gaming, but here we are 5 years later in 2024 and games have become far more demanding. In today's video, we're putting this classic GPU to the test in some of today's most popular titles like Starfield, NBA 2K24, Black Ops 6, and Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. We'll be answering 3 key questions. Does the RX 5700 XT still live up to the hype it generated back in 2019? Can this 5-year-old GPU handle 1440p gaming in 2024? And crucially, is it still one of the best budget GPUs for 1440p? Stick around as we dive into the benchmarks and cover all the FPS results. Now, quick note, I am running a Ryzen 5 2600 CPU, which may limit the GPU's peak performance, but don't worry, I'm on the lookout for an upgrade, possibly a Ryzen 5 5600X or similar. But alright, enough talk, let's jump right into benchmarking to see how this RX 5700 XT holds up, because I'll sit here just rambling on forever. First up on our RX 5700 XT benchmarking journey is Starfield. Now, my old GTX 1660 couldn't even think about running Starfield, not even on the lowest settings. It would freeze as soon as I tried leaving a building, making it pretty much unplayable. So this is the perfect first test for the 5700 XT, because if it can't even handle Starfield, then there's no point in even continuing with the other games. If you don't know, Starfield is notorious for its high demands, especially with mods. The Xbox Series X runs it pretty smoothly, but even the Series S struggles and can crash at times. So I set it to low settings to give the 5700 XT the best chance. Just exploring planets, I saw frame rates as high as 104 FPS and no lower than 70 FPS, with the average hanging around the high 90s. During combat though, things got intense. The FPS dropped to between 40 and 50, averaging around 45 FPS. Keep in mind that I'm using a Ryzen 5 2600 CPU, which is most likely bottlenecking the RX 5700 XT. Upgrading to a Ryzen 5 5600X would probably unlock even better performance, since Starfield is quite a CPU intensive game as well. When flying my ship around, I was constantly getting 60 to 70 FPS, mainly around 65 to 67. The Adrenaline app reported an average FPS of 99.1 on low settings overall. The RX 5700 XT feels like a massive upgrade over the GTX 1660, completely changing my PC's gaming capabilities. But I won't keep rambling. Let's see how it handles the next 3 games. Stick around because there's a lot more to come in this test. The second game we're putting to the test is NBA 2K24. Now, unlike Starfield, this game isn't as graphically demanding, which means it's a bit easier on both my GPU and CPU. For NBA 2K24, I have 2 sets of benchmarks to share. Normally, I play on high settings, and since the game recommends 60 FPS for the application to run smoothly, I've capped my frame rate there. While playing 2K24, the frame rate mostly holds at 60 FPS, only occasionally dipping to around 30 FPS for a split second every 45 to 60 seconds before bouncing right back up to 60 FPS. I know an upgraded CPU would probably keep that frame rate more stable and closer to 60, so a Ryzen 5 5600X is definitely on my wish list. Now let's see what the RX 5700 XT can really do when we take the FPS cap off. On high settings with no cap, this card hits a peak of 170 FPS, dropping to a low of 100 FPS, but mostly hovers in the high 150s. According to the Adrenaline app, the average FPS clocks in at 57.2, but again remember, I play with my FPS capped at 60 because that's what the game recommends. So if you're playing NBA 2K24 with similar settings, you should expect some impressive numbers from the RX 5700 XT. And we're not done yet, we still got two big tests coming, Black Ops 6 and Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, so stay tuned because the best is yet to come. Now on to the third game, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, the game everyone is playing right now, and for me, the one where all my PC problems started. This game brought my setup to its knees with crashes, blue screens of death, and overheating issues that lasted 5 infuriating days. I won't go into the whole saga here, but if you want the juicy details, click the card in the top right corner to watch my PC disaster story, or if you're sticking around for the FPS numbers in Black Ops 6 and Avatar, you'll also find the link in the description at the end. Now let's talk about performance in Black Ops 6. So I play Black Ops 6 on high settings, and here's what the RX 5700 XT pulls off. In multiplayer, I get between 70 to 85 FPS, while in zombies mode it ranges from 80 to 90 FPS, holding pretty steady at around 80 FPS overall. According to the Adrenaline app, the average frame rate lands at 73 FPS, which is solid for high settings on this GPU at 1440p. And now we're down to the final test, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. This one is also a graphics intensive game. Thankfully though, it's not as quite intense as Starfield. So let's see if the RX 5700 XT can handle it. So with Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, I play on medium to high settings, and when I'm running solo in the open world, I hit between 40 to 55 FPS. When I'm flying around the map, my FPS stays between 40 to 50, but when fighting enemies, it drops between 30 to 40 FPS. The Adrenaline app shows an average of 95.6 FPS, which doesn't match my experience though, since I've never actually seen the FPS go above 80 in game. But still, this game is another CPU demanding title, but it's not as quite as bad as Starfield. For context, I'm running a Ryzen 5 2600, and I know a CPU upgrade to a Ryzen 5 5600X would help keep my FPS more stable across the board in all my games. But honestly, I'm not out here chasing every frame rate like some hardcore PC gamers. As long as I get a smooth 60 plus FPS, I'm happy. Sure, I'd love to be gaming at 80 to 100 FPS, but my main goal is just to play my games and use my PC without any hiccups. Running Starfield and Black Ops 6 on my PC without any issues is a 100% win for me. I don't need any ultra settings at 200 FPS, maybe someday, but for now, I'm just enjoying the ride and I'm just trying to enjoy my games, that's all. But let me know what you think of the FPS numbers and whether you think the jump from the GTX 1660 to the RX 5700 XT was worth it. To me, it's a huge improvement as I'm hitting double or even triple the FPS I got with the 1660. For example, in Avatar, my old card could only pull around 30 FPS on low settings, while the RX 5700 XT gets me around 50 on medium to high settings. On NBA 2K24, I've gone from struggling at 40 FPS on high settings with the 1660 to a solid 60 FPS with the cap on, around 150 plus FPS with the cap off with the RX 5700 XT. I can only imagine how much better it will get with a Ryzen 5 5600X upgrade. So yeah, enough of me rambling because I would go on forever about my PC and all the upgrades that I'm planning. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and smash that like button. It really helps out the channel and it means the world to me. And if you're curious about the full unboxing of this 5-year-old RX 5700 XT and want to hear my first impressions of it in 2024, click the card in the top right corner to check it out. As always, thank you so much for watching and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace out.